What's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome back to another Legal Hands to the Face podcast. We are 23 days away from the NFL draft, so now we can start looking at various prospects and who could be potential Eagles next year. Before we get into it, guys, just a quick reminder, be sure to check us out on all your favorite social media channels. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. Give us a like, give us a follow. Also, leave us a review on the podcast. It really helps us out, really helps us reach more Eagles fans. But let's dive right into it. So going into this draft, the Eagles have 6 picks. They have 2 first-round draft picks. They pick number 10 and number 30. They have 1 second-rounder, which is the number 62 pick. They also have a third-rounder at number 94 and 2 seventh-round draft picks, 219 and 248. The big question, though, going into this draft is, will Howie Roseman actually stay at these picks and only pick 6 times? Very, very unlikely. I actually got this stat from Reuben Frank over at NBC Philly. Howie Roseman has 12 drafts as the general manager. In those 12 drafts, he's only picked 3 times at his original spot in the first round. And that was in 2011, 2013, and 2017. This guy loves to make trades on draft day. In fact, he's had 46 trades, either at the draft or in the days leading up to the draft. Loves to make trades. Another stat from Reuben Frank. Of all the picks that Howie Roseman has made as the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, the guy has picked 33 players with his actual pick and 60 with picks that were traded for. So I think going into this draft with only 6 draft picks, you're going to see Howie Roseman want to acquire some picks. I would be shocked if they actually pick at number 10 and at number 30. I think you'll either see him move up or down the draft board, acquiring picks in the process. But let's take a look. Assuming, and this is a big assumption, assuming that they stay at number 10 and number 30, the best possible scenario for the Philadelphia Eagles going into this draft is if we see a run on quarterbacks early. The more quarterbacks that get taken early, the better there is a player for the Eagles to draft. We want to see good players drop down the draft board because we want to see teams who are quarterback needy maybe even reach for some quarterbacks. So let's take a look at the 9 teams that are picking before the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, we know there's pretty much 4 top quarterback prospects going into this draft. You have Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Will Levis. Where do those guys go? Well, let's take a look. Who's drafting first? It's the Carolina Panthers. They move up the draft board, trading with the Chicago Bears to get that number 1 pick. They obviously did that for a reason. They have a new head coach, former offensive coordinator for the Eagles, Frank Reich. He's not going to want to build his future around Andy Dalton, obviously. So they're taking a quarterback. So there's one of them. Well, who picks number 2? That's the Houston Texans. New head coach DeMeco Ryans. His quarterbacks are Davis Mills and Case Keenum. They need a quarterback. I'd be shocked if you do not see the top 2 picks in this draft be quarterback. Then that brings us to number 3. It's the Arizona Cardinals. New head coach Jonathan Gannon. They're not a quarterback-needy team. They have Kyler Murray. They gave him a ton of money. But the big question mark here is do they trade out of that pick? There's some discussion that they want to draft Will Anderson, but I also saw reports from 2 different insiders that the Tennessee Titans may be interested in trading with the Arizona Cardinals to move up to that 3rd pick to try to get a quarterback. Love to see that happen. But even if that doesn't happen, you look at who's drafting number 4, the Indianapolis Colts. New head coach, former offensive coordinator again for the Eagles, Shane Steichen. They have Gardner Minshew. I don't think that's the future there. Steichen probably wants to draft a guy. So there's the potential 3 quarterbacks going in those first 4 picks would be great news for the Philadelphia Eagles. Then you look at who's next, the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, they give Geno Smith a new deal, but they could get out of it after 1 year. So if they love or fall in love with a quarterback, you may see them take one. The Detroit Lions at number 6, they have Jared Goff, but again, they have a potential out in that contract if they wanted it. I don't think they should. I think Jared Goff's a lot better than people give him credit for. He's only 28 years old. He's had a lot of success in his career. Thought he had a great season. I don't think the Lions draft a quarterback there. And then you have the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, they did just give Jimmy G, but they can get out in 2024. So do they fall in love with a draft pick? Josh McDaniels, does he want to make a move? Probably not. But you still have then the Atlanta Falcons. Are they in love with Desmond Ridder, the guy they drafted in the third round last year? Big question mark. And then you have at number 9, the Chicago Bears. They're definitely not drafting a quarterback. They have Justin Fields. So you look at those 9 picks before the Philadelphia Eagles, and realistically, there are 8 potential teams that could be taking quarterbacks. You have, if Arizona was to trade or if Chicago was to trade, that would be that 8th team with Tennessee coming in. But very realistic that there's a lot of quarterbacks taken. So what players could be available at number 10 for the Philadelphia Eagles? And the biggest one, the guy I'd love to see them draft, is Jalen Carter. Could Jalen Carter fall to number 10? I mean, all the experts are basically saying this guy is the most talented guy in the draft, but off-field issues could result in him dropping down that draft board. If you haven't heard, you're probably under a rock. After the national championship win in Georgia, that a player and a staff member, unfortunately, were killed in this accident. He pleads no contest. He gets 12 months probation. He also doesn't help matters. He shows up to his pro day reportedly out of shape. So we're seeing this guy fall down the draft board. But like I said, a lot of experts are saying he is the most talented player in this draft. The guy can stop the run. He can rush the passer from the interior. He's only 22 years old, 6'3", 300 pounds. He's a 2-time national champion, a unanimous All-American. As a sophomore, he was a second-team SEC. As a junior, he's a first-team SEC. He's also played with Jordan Davis and Kobe Dean on that Georgia Bulldog defense that's been one of the best in the country for the past few years. Does this guy fall? The issue I see here is he may fall down the draft board, but I would be shocked if he gets past the Chicago Bears at number 9. If the Chicago Bears are still picking at number 9 and the Eagles are behind them, I can't imagine that they let Jalen Carter fall. There was even a report that Carter's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, is not allowing Jalen Carter to go on any pre-draft visits with any team that's outside of that top 10. We know he's visited the Bears. We know he's visited the Philadelphia Eagles. Could he fall to the Eagles? I would love that pick. This is a guy who could step in and really make the loss of Javon Hargrave not feel as bad. He's going to step right in playing alongside Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis and Milton Williams, and I think that defensive line would be in really, really good shape. But if Carter's not there, who else could be available at number 10? Here's a guy I'd also would be very happy with the Eagles taking, and that is Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois. If the Eagles were to draft a corner in the first round, it'd be the first time they drafted a corner in 21 years. They have not drafted a corner in the first round since Lito Shepherd. Lito! Love that guy. But he's Devin Witherspoon, 22 years old, 6 foot, 180 pounds. Not necessarily the biggest guy. He didn't run at the combine because of a hamstring injury. So we're not sure what his 40-yard time would be. But if you watch this guy, I don't think speed is his problem. He's very, very quick. He's a great defender. He was an All-American in 2022. He actually won the Tatum-Woodson DB of the Year, and he played on that Illinois defense. It was the top scoring defense in the country last year. He had 17 passes defended, 3 interceptions, 41 tackles in 12 games. I really like this guy. And I'm not opposed to the Eagles bringing in a corner in this draft. I know they brought back James Bradbury. I know they have Darius Slay. But I would love to see them go corner in that first round. This is a deep corner draft. This is a guy that you could have play potentially slot while you still have Bradbury and Slay, but really grow into that position and take over. I mean, you remember what the Eagles did when they drafted Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown. They had Bobby Taylor and Troy Vincent. So this is a position in a pass-heavy NFL. You want to have this position locked up, and Bradbury and Slay are getting older. So I would love to see them take Devin Witherspoon. Well, who's another guy that could be available at 10? And this is a very real possibility for the Eagles, is to draft Georgia edge rusher Nolan Smith. You talk about a guy who can get after the quarterback, it is him. He's 22 years old. He's 6'2", 235 pounds. That's the knock on him. Is he too small to play in the NFL? Well, you know who else is undersized? Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick's only 6'1", 230, and we saw last year what that guy can do in getting after the quarterback. And Nolan Smith is actually a little bit bigger, and he is faster. He ran the 40-yard dash. Get ready for this. In 4.39. He's the second fastest D lineman in the last 20 years. And you would think a guy that size and with that speed would only be a good pass rusher. No, he's very good against the run. If you watched him in college, he's very good against the run. He's a two-time national champion at Georgia, another guy who's played with Jordan Davis and Kobe Dean. Scouts are concerned. Can he stay healthy at that size? I think he can. You look, like I said, at Hassan Reddick and his people who compare to him. I would love to see them bring in a guy like Nolan Smith. You put him on the other side from Reddick, and then you have a D tackle, Fletcher Cox, Milton Williams, and Jordan Davis. And I think this D-line would be just fine. You also have Josh Sweat working in there as well with Brandon Graham and potentially Derek Barnett. And this is a D-line that could get after the quarterback. But if the Eagles decide to do something they haven't done in 21 years and they don't like Devin Witherspoon at corner, there's another corner to keep your eye on, and that is Christian Gonzalez, a cornerback out of Oregon. He started his college career at Colorado, transferred to Oregon, and this guy has size. He's only 20 years old. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. He ran the 40 in 4.38. He really has everything that scouts are looking for. He's got size. He has speed. He has explosiveness. Where he lacks, if you've watched him play, is he's still young. He still needs a little bit more polish at the actual position with his instincts, jumping routes, things of that nature. But I think you will see him grow. Like I said, he's only 20 years old. He was an all Pac-12 player in 2022. He had 45 tackles, 7 passes defended, 3 interceptions. But I love his size. I love the fact that he not only has speed, but he has the size to compete with these big wide receivers. I mean, you look at the Dallas Cowboys, they have guys like CeeDee Lamb. You look at some of the receivers in this league, and they are big bodies. So I'd love to see the Eagles get a corner who not only has speed, but has size. I'd be happy with either Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez on this team. So let's look at another guy that could potentially be there at 10 that a lot of Eagles fans are hoping they go with. Everyone I've mentioned so far has been a defensive player. Well, let's take a look on the offensive side of the ball. And I did a video on our Instagram page regarding Bijan Robinson before, so let's talk about him again. Bijan Robinson at 10. There is no denying this guy's skill. He was a running back at Texas. He's only 21 years old. He's 6 foot, 220 pounds, and he runs the 40 in 4.46. In 3 years at Texas, he had over 3,400 yards rushing. He averaged 6.3 yards a carry. He also had 60 catches, averaging 13 yards a catch. I mean, this guy is an absolute stud. He's very comparable to Josh Jacobs, who led the league, led the NFL this past year in rushing. I think any team that gets Bijan Robinson is getting a stud. There is no doubt about it. He's visited Philadelphia, so the rumors keep swirling, but I just can't imagine the Philadelphia Eagles using a top 10 pick on a running back in today's NFL. And there's been debates up and down on sports radio about whether or not it makes sense because you got the guy locked up on his rookie deal. You don't have to overpay. Well, let's take a look. If the Eagles were to draft Bijan Robinson with the 10th overall pick, and this is why I don't think that they will, the rookie wage scale says that the 10th pick in the draft gets $4 million in year 1, $5 million in year 2, $6 million in year 3, $7 million in year 4, and then there would be a 5th-year option that would be more than $7 million. That is not a steal for a running back in today's NFL. You look at the Eagles' current running back room, the entire room of all 4 running backs, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, and Trey Sermon, is only a little over $5 million. So you'd be bringing in this guy, and I know he's on a different level than those guys. I'm not saying that these guys are as good as Bijan, but you'd be paying him a ton of money. I mean, just look at what Miles Sanders got in Carolina that the Eagles didn't want to pay. $6.35 million. You're going to be paying that. You're paying Bijan pretty damn close to that. Now, on the flip side of that, the other argument is, well, look at what Saquon Barkley's getting. He's on a 1-year, $10 million deal under the franchise tag. So the argument can be made. I just think when you look at this Eagles roster, there are so many other needs than bringing in a running back and wasting that 10th pick on a position that notoriously gets injured. We know that. It's very difficult for running backs to stay healthy. I get that this guy could be a game changer, but your offense is pretty solid. I'm excited about that running back room. I like the moves that they've made. You have two stud wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You have Dallas Goedert at tight end, and you have Jalen Hurts at quarterback. We don't need a guy like Bijan. I'd much rather see them go on the defensive side of the ball and bring in a defensive tackle, maybe a corner. And we didn't talk about it today, but we'll continue to talk about it in other podcasts. There's some other defensive players out there that I'd like to see the Eagles make a move on. There's some linebackers, even the safety position, maybe at the 30th pick. But we'll talk about that. So be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. We'll be coming to you every week, breaking down individual players. And again, check out the social media channels. We're posting content there every single day. So we will see what happens here. But I'd be shocked, like I said earlier. I really don't think that the Eagles are going to make picks at 10 and 30. I think you're going to be some changes. But back to Bijan real quick. If he falls, I would potentially be okay with them taking him at 30. I just don't think he falls that far down the draft board. I think you'd have to use your number 10 pick on him, and I don't like it, especially if some of the guys I talked about earlier are still there. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Devin Witherspoon, or Christian Gonzalez. I'd much rather see them draft one of those guys than Bijan. But hey, we'll see what happens. That's the beauty of the NFL draft. Nobody knows. All these draft experts, they're never right. Nobody is. Things happen. It falls a certain way, but that's what's so exciting. Guys, as always, I appreciate you listening. I appreciate the support. Check us out everywhere. Give us a review. Give us a like. Give us a follow. And go Birds.